Why is public participation important and public involvement important in terms of the energy transition?
Public participation, which is a key for development and for change. So people need to see the purpose of doing things. And that local purpose and reasons emerged when the discussion started on Samsø. So it has been hitting the news since 2007 when it became carbon negative. So all the electricity is coming from onshore wind, 11 megawatt in total. Almost all the heating is coming from district heating, from local biomass. And then there's the highest number of electric vehicles per capita in Denmark, and all the emissions from transport on the island and to and from the island are compensated by offshore winds, so 23 megawatts in total.
We had a very interesting discussion today about promoting renewable energy or protecting the environment. And sometimes this is displayed as being contrary or in contradiction, and it is not. It is not for one thing, but for several things. First, it is not because as climate change goes on and it gets worse, well, the environment gets extremely affected. Nature is already affected by climate change. So actually responding to the climate crisis helps to protect the environment, and we should really keep this in mind. However, it is true that some renewable energy projects have an impact on nature.
So we like to say that it's technology and market conditions is about the how do we do things, but it's more important to talk about the why first. Because when it comes to the how, I mean, it's not the good starting of the conversation. It's not, if you go to a public meeting and you talk about technology and about bank loans and how to do investments, it's not a good starter of the conversation. Some people may like wind turbines or PV, some others may just hate it, and so it's a very divisive topic. But on the other hand, it's much better to talk about why. So why am I doing this? Why a community should do this? Why a community should talk about clean energy and invest in clean energy? So on Samsø there were a lot of discussion and a long process where people felt invited. And they participated on their own, bought shares in wind turbines, and the whole transition to the new energy system with district heating, with local biomass, so the farmers supplied the biomass, and the wind turbines that were broken down into shares that were very affordable and people could buy them. So this created a mental feeling of ownership that suddenly it was not a plan or a fancy idea that came from the outside, but it was a project or a series of projects, a project that people could actually feel they were part of.
Because everything we do as humans has an impact on nature. I mean, everything from the terraces that we built in the mountains in Mallorca 800 years ago for agriculture, and that now we consider essential to our heritage and our history and to the natural landscape. Well, they were man-made. So we need to strike a balance between what we consider protection of nature and the actual response that is needed to climate change. And in order to do that properly, we considered in our discussion that it would be very interesting to broaden a little bit the lens through which we see that problem. And we shouldn't just look at an immediate response to an energy need that cannot be answered through fossil fuels, because they cause climate change and other problems, and that can be just substituted by renewable energy sources. We need to broaden the lens and see that it makes part of a broader picture. And we need to ask ourselves, are we generating the energy we need, or are we generating energy to cover things that we don't actually need?
So the clean energy transition was an answer to local problems, actually, which were like new businesses, affordable and stable energy prices, a stronger local economy. We're trying to export, or we try to talk about it in as many islands communities as possible. And through the Island Secretariat, this is part of our work. We participate in many experience exchange projects, including capacity building in some municipalities in central Denmark region.